We were all young once, young, hormonal, crazy teenagers who had mostly one thing on our mind. You know what I'm talking about, and it's the little thing called sex. But did you know that young people ages 15 to 25 contract 19 million STDs annually? Even more disturbing is that two young people ages 13 through 29 contract HIV every hour. That's 17,520 young people every single year. It's pretty scary. No parent wants to think about their teens and preteens having premarital sex. I'm included in that group. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, the importance of sex education. The need for better, more comprehensive sex education is astounding. More than 360,000 teenage girls give birth in the United States every year. And of those mothers, half of them aren't even going to finish high school. They cost the U.S. taxpayers more than $9 billion every year. That's a whole lot of money. A single act of vaginal intercourse with an infected male partner in a female teenager has a 30% higher risk of contracting genital herpes and a 50% higher chance of contracting gonorrhea. Her chance of acquiring HIV is 1 in 100. Teens who have a comprehensive education about sex are 50% less likely to have an unintended pregnancy than those who receive sex educations that are abstinence-only or contraception-only programs. So what can be done? Naturally, like many parents and their children feel embarrassed about talking about some aspects of sex and sexuality. Viewing sex education as an ongoing conversation about values and attitudes and issues, as well as providing facts, can be very helpful for both sides. Providing effective sex education can seem daunting because it means tackling potentially sensitive issues and involving a variety of people from teachers to parents, schools, communities, churches, doctors' offices. Everywhere in your life will be affected. Obviously, from the teen pregnancy rates, there's no evidence that the federally funded abstinence only until marriage education is effective. A recent randomized controlled trial found that in specific cases, abstinence-only education programs that are specifically tailored to the local community and they don't criticize contraceptions nor advocate abstinence until marriage can be effective in delaying sexual activity among teenagers. But what we can do now as parents, we can choose to be more proactive in our children's lives. Know what they're doing and who their friends are, what they're watching on TV, what they're doing online, and what they're reading about even in the magazines that they read. All of these things are huge influences for our kids. We need to be more informed and do our own research. Get pamphlets, books, information online. Talk with your doctor, your kid's doctor. Be prepared to talk openly and honestly with your kids about sex. Explain your values. If your values come from a religious base, then please make sure you include those as well. Make sure your children are learning more about sex education and less more of the actual act, because that's pretty self-explanatory. They need to know more what's happening during puberty, what happens during reproduction, what contraception is, how many kinds there are, different relationships in their lives. You also need to go down the ugly road of the possible consequences of unprotected sex, like pregnancy, STDs, and bad reputations even. We can push for legislation changes that change what's required of a sex education class. That yes, they should still continue to teach that abstinence is the best, but also teach about contraceptions, how to use them, where they can get them. Because let's face it, if a teenager wants to have sex, they're going to have it. They're going to find a place, they're going to find a time, and they're going to make it happen. It would be better for them, for parents, for the community, for taxpayers, if teenagers could make safer decisions about sex. If teenagers knew how to make a more responsible choice. I want to leave you with a quote by David Walsh from What They what do they act that way? We parents need to do a better job of educating our adolescents about sex. The countries with the lower rates of teen pregnancy and low rates of STDs deal with sex more openly. It is not uncommon for adolescents to talk frankly and frequently about sex with their families and in the schools. It's ironic that these more open societies have fewer problems associated with adolescent sexual activity because much parental resistance to sex education in the United States is predicated on the notion that it will lead to more teenage sex. American parents fear that if teachers talk to teens about sex in a classroom, the information will somehow trigger their interest in it, as if teens have not heard of sex before taking a health class on it.